Peace. You are tuned into Edible Activists with your host and favorite edible activist, Melissa L. Jones. On this show, we honor Black people and their stories in food and agriculture, celebrating legacy, traditions, contributions, and creativity that all stem from the land. So tune in and let's get started. Peace. This is your host and favorite edible activist, Melissa L. Jones. Today's guest is the creative force behind a DC movement that turns swapping into an act of environmental justice. Through her pop-up events, she's kept thousands of pounds of clothing out of landfills and is inspiring people to trade plants, books, and ideas and built a community where sustainability feels stylish and accessible. She's the founder of Swap DC. Let's welcome Zsameria Rayford. Welcome. Woo, 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 woo. I'm excited to see you, to have you on Edible Activists, and it's just such a pleasure.
Thank you, Melissa. I'm so happy to be here, truly.
And we're going to obviously dive into all the details, but I wish that y'all could see this amazing outfit that Zsameria is rocking. And we've crossed paths a few times, and every time I see her, I'm like, I love it. Where'd you get it from? I don't even know why I asked you this. The swap. But you said it's either the swap or the thrift. But yes. The swap.
Yeah, it's either swap or thrift or from a friend's closet. Yeah.
But I love that. And we're going to get into that because we're going to talk about Swap DC. You've been doing this for quite some time.
Yes, 10 years.
10 congratulations.
Thank you.
Building a community and doing this. I mean, you posting something just about every single week, you and your team. So that's a lot of effort, a lot of energy, but all for the love of community and sustainability, which I want you to define what sustainability means to you. But we're going to get into that because it intersects into the environmental justice space. And so we're going to get to your origins of the very first swap and what that looked like and what brought you to say, hey, I want to start swapping clothes. So that's where we're going to go back. So what is the story? For those who aren't familiar with Swap DC, first time listening, what is the story behind Swap DC? What sparked the idea? And take us back to that one of those very first swaps.
So the first swap was at my home, at my house, and my little 2-bedroom. Well, we just used the living room, actually. And it was with me and a friend who thought of the idea. And we had 12 people. And it was very intimate, it was just like, hey, let's do something, let's have a swap in the house. And then the next one, I was like, we're going to take it down to the cul-de-sac outside, that sort of thing. And after that, it just kept growing. More people were telling more people, and they were like, oh, I got it from the swap. And then one day I was like, oh, this is cute, Swap BC. And she was like, no, we're really starting that. We're doing this. And so I felt like it wasn't until like the third one that I was like, okay, let's do this,
Wow. So it really just started off with saying, hey, let's get some people together. You got some fly stuff. I got some fly stuff.
Yes.
I want to share.
Yes.
Sharing is caring.
Yes.
Like, listen, let's just swap some clothes. I like that. So were you even thinking about the environmental aspect of that from the start?
To be honest, not when I first started. When I first started, it was more so of saving money. It was, let's use our money for other things instead of clothing. And then as I did more, I was learning more. And it wasn't until I would say after about a few years, I'm gonna say probably my second year doing swaps, I was like, oh wait, it's so bigger than me, it's so bigger than these events, that sort of thing. And now it's about environmental justice. It's about making sure that not just the people here next to me have water, but the people across the world have water. And if it comes down to me not buying something, sign me up, that sort of thing. So it really became more about, I mean, it has become bigger, but when I first started, it was like, let me use this money for something over here. You know, it was like, why am I wasting my money on clothes when I could be using this money for things I actually need in my life?
I mean, listen, that's real, and overconsumption is a thing. And every space is judgmental here, right? So we're not here to be judgmental. I mean, even I can stand to consume a bit less, right? In some areas of where I spend, but we do know for some of us, and so for some who may not, I also like to approach this as some folks just may not know, like how much environmental harm that is caused by the fashion industry. And, we have lots of influencers and lots of folks who, are pushing product out there. And I'm not shading y'all, but like, we are definitely we are spending, like, especially like our like us, we are spending, and there's so much environmental harm that is done to this earth because of how clothes are produced, like the chemicals that are used, the shipping, like the freight, you name all the things, right? Mm-hmm. And so it has a huge footprint.
Yeah.
And some people don't realize that. I mean, I honestly didn't. It really, the light bulb didn't really click off for me until like maybe 5 years ago. And I was like, oh my gosh. Oh my goodness. Like this earth is warming for a ton of reasons, but the fashion industry is also just a big one. Mm-hmm. What are you able to, and if you want to drop some stats or not, or just give people the bigger picture of like, to illustrate like what really is the scale of the issue when it comes to overconsumption and overspending on clothes, or just like other things? Like, are you able to frame that for us a bit?
Well, let's start with, we live in a capitalistic society, right? And so we are taught to consume. That's just something that we do. And sometimes it's not just about like the need to consume. It's really about the need of fulfilling something. And so I think that is for a lot of us here, especially in America. We're always trying to feel something. And the future is going to feel more effects of what we're deciding today, unfortunately. So I try not to do the shaming because I realize it makes people just turn away, and then they go back into their boxes and then they order their Amazon and their Uber Eats and they act like, the world is just it'll happen no matter what, that sort of thing. I want to, a part of, creating these events and starting Swap DC, and which eventually is now Swap Universe, is to open up the connection between us and for more people to see how your choices actually affect the people around you. And it starts as small as not shopping so much and buying clothes, something just so simple. And so that, I don't know if I'm not trying to like ignore your question, but I'm like, I don't know if I answered your question, but at the same time, I want people to know that Swap DC is about inclusivity and intersectionality, especially in this world and what we're doing right now. It's so needed. And so I don't want people to feel like, well, I'm not doing enough.
I'm glad that you said that because it's easy. I think I mentioned this in my one of my last conversations, and actually a conversation that I had today. Like the aim, I know at least for me, and I don't want to speak for everyone, is like, we would all love to be conscious consumers and conscious of everything that we do, from like what we eat, what we buy, how we do business. That's the intent, right? And the reality is that we can't hit every single thing. Now, maybe for some who are living off the grid,
I want to say the reality is that's a privilege too, though.
It is yes, it actually is. I'm glad that you said that. Said that.
Not everyone has that privilege.
You're absolutely right, because I do have a choice when I walk out of here. You have a choice.
Yes.
And we can argue what the levels are, but the reality, what it boils down to is that I have a choice and you have a choice. And the thing is that like none of us is perfect in what we're doing. So we're not here to to shame people.
And to also take the big heavy weight off of us and realize that there are corporations out here that is becomes a systemic thing. And so with that, that's already there, and so how to take that weight off of us as a massive and be like, hey, let's just get together, do this little, not even a little event, but do this event together and see how we can build in these little ways to make a bigger picture, opposed to let me focus on what I'm not doing, and so I can try to be that perfect environmentalist, whatever, and right now people are just trying to survive. So I'm here to help people survive, but also to bring awareness to the choices that you make and the decisions that you make daily, how it can affect the future. We see it happening around us, and we've seen it on the news, and we've seen it years ago, the effects of what the decisions and votes that people make now will affect us in 4 years. And can we curse on here? It's fucking affecting us right now, okay?
It is.
Yeah.
Point blank. You had to get that out.
Yeah.
Totally okay on this show. I think, and when I look at Swap DC, I liken it, you've created like this beautiful structure, and I actually want to, dive into, how you set this up and, the process of, folks being able to participate in Swap DC. But I also liken it to just thinking about the community, because you have actually built a community. I know that we sometimes use community pretty loosely. And by the end of the day, like however folks define their community, like, okay, that's fine. But I liken it to just thinking about when my grandmother would have conversations with me around like sharing with their neighbors and giving them food, and you take care of me, I take care of you. I almost draw like some similar like parallels, to be truthfully honest. Again, I know this, you've built more of a structure around it, but like that's how I look at it. It's like we don't have to turn, and for them, like when they were growing up, it was something that they had to do in survival mode and making sure that they were good. And I do draw that parallel of like, I got you, like we're coming together, and we don't have to, defer to like the larger systems at hand. Like this is a communal system that we have built here. And this is an option. Like there are thousands of other options, but like this is an option. It's a bit more sustainable. I get to talk to someone, I get to connect. And it is in some form like, I'm taking care of you, you taking care of me, kind of looking out for each other. That's how I liken it. That's how when I think of Swap DC and just really comparing it to some of the stories that I have with like my grandparents of like looking out from one another and like really truly building a community. So I don't know if others defined it that way, but that's certainly how I've been looking at it. And so that's why I've been appreciative of what you've built with Swap DC.
Thank you. It's definitely, it's that, and it's also representation. The environmental scene is very much whitewashed. And I wanted people to identify that they have a place in this battle with, making sure that we have a planet for the next generation. I wanted to be a representation for little kids to see, no matter where you are, that there are Black and brown people on the front lines and have always been. And I wanted to also show how resourceful we truly are. And that right there for me is a lot of the reasons why I continue to do Swap DC and why I put my energy in funding into, basically like the community that I know that we are going to thrive no matter what, as long as we stay connected to each other and as long as we utilize our resources and our gifts to help one another. Yeah, and I guess I'm good at event planning. Like that helps, you know?
Indeed, you are.
Yeah.
That's a whole nother skill set.
Yeah.
And trust me, I know as a former, and I'd like to call myself retired event planner, I know. But you named something really important in that we are, well, a few things in that the environmental space is still, I mean, it's been a bit more progressive and more amplified with like us showing up in this space, but it is still very much so like whitewashed. So it's that. But then also, it's almost like you're countering this narrative, right? Of that, you know, because there are stats around like how much we spend on clothes or how much we spend on just things. Like we are definitely buyers. Like we account for billions of dollars, right? So, but it's also, it's like you are countering this narrative and like, no, we are resourceful and we don't, and yes, like we do buy some things, but we are resourceful and we use our resources and we recycle those resources. And so those stats may not point to like every single one of us,
yes.
But it is like, again, countering that narrative that is there, that again, we are big consumers and big spenders, but we're also, there is a significant amount of us, people who look like you and I, who are in this environmental space, and we care about consumption. We care about, you know, what's being put in landfills. We do care. And so I like that you actually do that. And it's obviously in this creative, fun, and fashion forward way, but it's making this very big, bold statement without even having to say it.
Yes. 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 And giving people the choices, but also encouraging literacy around what environmental racism is, and you know, letting people know that these isms are bigger than us, but if we can combine together, you know, we can actually counter some of these things that are happening. So like one little fact, in US we have over 9 million tons of textile waste, and that was what's the stats for 2023.
Oh my God.
I'm sure it has gone up. You know, the quote unquote sheen, what are those? What do they call them? The drops? No, not the drops. The hauls. They just literally are giving us trash, and they're dumping it not just, you know, in the islands, but like over in Africa. So it's all an effect. It's all an effect. But if we can do little things, I know 2003, that year, I think we saved 2 tons of clothes. So it's just little things. We're not trying to save the billions out there, but if we can do our little, you know, impact, we're all game, and we're going to keep doing what we're doing. It's not easy. And building a team, you know, to consist with this, you know, to be consistent is also a challenge. The funding, let's talk about funding, you guys. So one, the environmental scene doesn't get a lot of funding. And then you think about the different sectors of where funding goes, and climate justice, climate literacy, all of those things, they only get but so much money. So only 1.3% of the $34 billion that is a lot allocated, only 12 organizations get that money.
Wow. 12?
12. And out of those 12, only about 1.3% gets allocated to African American and Black and Brown organizations in the environmental justice scene. So if we talking about numbers, we are already at a loss in so many ways. And so again, it's about doing what you can, you know, and helping the planet for where you are, and, you know, just doing those little things. I keep saying those little things, but it's simple.
Things,
it's simple. It's simple. It's like, instead of throwing away a garment, sew it and then give it to the next person. Instead of, just getting rid of things, think of ways that you can reduce waste and not just give them, unfortunately, to just places like Goodwill, who are also $1 million corporation. And they also dump certain amount of, you know, their clothes that they can't quote unquote resell.
Goodness.
So just think of ways that we can, you know, and I think it's also like, again, we talk about the consumerism, but being a conscious consumer really can change your mindset on things, but also it can change your pocketbook. You know, you realize you're not spending as much.
You ain't lying, Zsameria. You ain't lying.
No, really.
Yes, really. The power, we hold so much power.
Yes.
In our pocketbooks, our credit cards, our debit cards.
And our melanin.
Alone. And that we had like this very moment. And we're kind of seeing it because we weren't playing with Target, you know? And imagine if we did that across other places, and especially ones that do not, like, blatantly do not support us.
Yeah, like Starbucks, like Scamazon. I mean, we can name a few, like Hocheck, you know?
Wasn't there a whole thing on American Eagle? Like, it's good jeans. It's disrespectful. But
we wasn't wearing their jeans anyway. Come on.
Well, some of us back in, I don't know how old you are when
maybe
I was in high
golf
school.
days. Maybe, I don't know.
That was a long time ago. I don't date myself. But anyway. So yeah, I mean, those stats are alarming. So thank you for sharing. And I think if we could wave a wand and that everyone would be a conscious consumer, but going back to the thing about it being a privilege too, though, and just wanting to name that as well. So, but each of us does have, mostly for the most part, has the power to go out and choose and say, hey, I'm going to a swap DC.
Yes.
To find some new, you know,
new
pieces.
Clothes, new plants, new record, you know, new book.
Yes.
Yeah.
We all have the power to do that. Just like I have the power to go out and say, I'm not going to a specific grocery store. Like, I'm just going to go to the farmer's market. Like, that's my power that I hold, you know? I'm not saying I would love for folks to do that, but that's the power that I hold.
Or connecting to your local CSA.
Yes.
And having food delivered straight to your home. Or going to pick it up every Saturday or Sunday. Or, you know, just connecting to the environment around you, I think can really help us in the long run. Because let's think about it. The little mom and pop shops that we used to have on the corners were bought out. Well, not even bought out, but they were monopolized by Walmarts and different, you know, places like that. And now Walmarts aren't even, and they're cutting the Walmarts in Black and brown neighborhoods. You know, so it's like, we got to think about every decision has an effect. And so you're going to your local mom and pops can actually help the future, opposed to going to these bigger corporations that really don't care about you. And I used to think about, again, you talk about privilege, you know, I think we don't realize like how much plastic is killing us and our planet, but it's in everything at this point.
Oh my gosh. Can you speak on that? Especially, is it fair to name that some people do not realize that plastic is in clothes?
Oh yeah,
like some people really don't realize that at all. And I just want to name that. And again, not coming from a judgmental space, because I also had to learn too. But when I was looking at studies, and especially like linked to like health and like clothes and stuff, and like how our clothes, so there's the environmental impact, and then there's a health impact, and we can name all the impacts. But plastic, not just like in clothes.
In clothes, yes. And in our food and in clothes. So it's in polyester. It's in anything that's derived from a petrochemical. And so there are other things that we can use, but we use a lot of nylon. We use a lot of acrylics and things. And it's as much as I despise what it's done to us as a human race, honestly, it has it's lowered men's sperm count also since the debut of plastic back in the 40s. It's in us at this point, but it's also like I think about my unhoused neighbors and how things like plastic are so needed for them. So again, I'm like, let's do what we can to help one another, but at the same time, let's not shame one another for what people cannot do. Because again, if we feel more included, I think it's a better effect for the future. And it's like, oh, okay, I can bring my cup to the, local coffee shop and get my coffee, but I'm not going to shame the next person who I see with their plastic, that sort of thing. But it's just about being in community and remembering that your decision has an effect for the future, not just for tomorrow.
Ooh, I like that.
Not ooh.
Okay, so what can one expect? They're coming to a Swap DC meetup for the first time. What can they expect?
You're going to expect good vibes. So how Swap works, you usually bring 5, take 5. It's kind of simple. You bring 5 items to Swap, you take 5 items home. How it works is you check in, you meet whoever is at the check-in, so one of our trusted team members, and then you drop your items off, and you go kind of just like not wander, but you shop through the free shop, the Swap shop. And then from there, we trust you in a way. It's not like we usually have like a checkout depending on the space, but if not, you leave with your items and you take home your quote unquote new items, and you tell a friend. And then we hope that when you wear it or when you have it in your home, if it's rather it be a record or rather it be a book or rather it be a plant, you tag us at Swap DC, and that's it. It's real simple. It's real simple, y'all. You bring what you take.
I like it. I like the simplicity of it all, but not taking away the effort and energy that goes into creating these events, because it is a lot. And again, the fact that this has been rolling for 10 years, just salute to you and your team and the amazing people who have helped you with this, because I don't care if it's for 5 people or 100 people, it's still a lot to put together, but that's incredible.
Thank you. Thank you.
That's awesome. That's so awesome. Is there space? I know that the structure is like you bring 5 items and like you take 5 items. What if someone is just like, I don't have items to bring, but I do want to be able to come get some stuff because I just don't have I don't have the means, or I don't really have much.
Yeah, come through.
That's awesome.
Still come through. That's usually how it is. So when we do our clothing swaps, if you don't bring items, we usually allow you to take up to 2 items, just because. And if you don't have any items to bring, but you have a monetary donation, we accept monetary donations. And if you don't have a plant, we ask that you either bring some seeds or a smiling face, and then you can take home some seeds, but we don't give plants away unless you bring a plant, if that makes sense.
That makes sense. I gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay. But bring a smile is super important.
Yes.
Too.
Bring that good old energy, come through, have a nice little matcha from Grounded, the Grounded team, and enjoy. We'll also have pottery painting, so we'll be doing that from noon to 3.
So much fun. Zsameria, how would you, in your own words, I talked about this at the top of the show, but how would you define sustainability?
I would define sustainability as something authentic that can grow while flourishing others.
Grow while flourishing others. I like that.
When I think of sustainability, I think of things that consistently, it can work, but it also has to evolve for it to continue to work. And renewable. Sustainability, I would say, was something that can be renewed. And yeah. Yeah, that's my definition of sustainability.
Yeah, I appreciate you saying that, and thank you. And I like for people to name like how they define sustainability, because it's so broad.
Yes.
And you can slap it on just about anything. And it's often greenwashed. And it's like, okay. And I also had to learn that too. So I'm always interested in like how people define it. And they just often like just define it just from their personal like morals and values. And so I thank you. I just appreciate you lifting that up and flourishing others in that it's renewed. It's renewed. It's like I go to a swap and I can my whole wardrobe can be renewed.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
And they're pieces that are coming from other people. I didn't go out to other places to buy them, but my wardrobe is now renewed.
Yes.
And it's just this circle. It's like literally this circle. So I like that a lot.
Thank you. I want to say, I always think about a saying Baba used to say is, there is no culture without agriculture. And so when I think of clothing and I think of textile, and I just think of the farmers, I think of how it affects, our agriculture, and for the future, what is that going to look like, And so I thank you for doing what you do and making the dots connect. I think that is so important. And I know that for us to continue to be sustainable in this world, we really have to put a lot of backing and support behind our farmers, behind the people who are growing our foods, and putting more pressure on the government to make it easier and make a way and give the funding to these people so that we can live a sustainable life. Not just now, but for our future.
I mean, yeah, because are we going to continue to destroy land and destroy our waterways and continue heating up the earth because we want the latest fashions? I like to look cute too. Okay, I get it. And again, not from a judgmental space, but the reality is that there's devastation that is done to our lands and our soil in order for people to consume. And so it's a reality, and we're not making this up. Like it's happened. And so just even again, from when we talk about the textile industry and just the waste in the landfills, like the things that they have to do to like decompose. And we know plastic don't really go nowhere for a very long time. For an extremely long time. And so it's things seeping up into our atmosphere, and it's just causing the earth to warm, and it's all intersected. It's all related. So yes, and like much respect to our great ancestor,
Ashe.
Baba. I'm glad that you brought that up.
Ashe.
With the plant, with the plant swap, which I love, we love plants. Do you feel like with even not just with the plants, but just with the swaps in general, do you feel like it has encouraged like other areas of sustainability in folks' lives? Like to say, oh, I want to, maybe grow my own food, or I want to think about like how I purchase food, or, think about growing food, or how can I just be a better environmental steward? Do you feel like you've gotten that like from folks who showed up to swap and they've walked away like feeling even more encouraged to be an environmental steward?
I think it's definitely has sparked some things in people. Urban gardening is something that we've done workshops on, but I would say from our plant swaps, we mostly get people who are already into it. And they're just excited that they finally found this one plant that they've been looking for so long, that sort of thing.
That's exciting.
Yeah.
Because plant people they plant people.
Oh, yes,
okay?
yes. And we have people, and so we always have someone there who is educated on plants and different seeds and things like that. So I will say for the plants and seed swaps, it's more of building that bridge between the people who don't know anything and the people who are like, I've been doing this, that sort of thing.
That's good.
Yeah,
That's really good.
yeah. I will say, I think when we have our workshops, that's where people are like, oh, I didn't realize that I could do this, because it's more of that instructional kind of thing, and here's some tools, and that's the plant and seed salts are just more of like an interactive. Come have a nice matcha, have some, maybe do a yoga class in the back, that sort of thing. So it's just a little different when we are out having the different events, but we have so many different events. So it's something to tap into for everyone.
Yes. That's awesome. Listen, I got some plants, but Zsameria, I don't know if I want to swap those bad boys.
Yeah, don't. And so that's another thing I would like to say for the plant swap. Like, you can bring a plant, you can bring a propagation or a cutting from your plant.
Oh,
yes.
Okay.
We're not
Did
asking for full plants. You can bring, and so if you do that, put in a little thing of water or wrap it in a wet paper towel and a Ziploc and bring that, something simple. We ask that you bring, if you're bringing pots, bring limited to 3 pots. We ask that your plants, if they are a full plant in soil that is watered and it's labeled, just so people know, and that it's pest free. We ask that you keep your plants at home. They got the things jumping on them. Or if you have a plant that needs a little TLC, bring that as well.
Because somebody there,
can help you and point you in the right direction. And we also will be selling plants. Well, Grounded will be selling plants as well. And if you don't know anything about plant life or plants and you're just interested, come on through.
Listen, inclusive and bringing the good vibes, energy, no judgment space, connect, learn, grow,
literally in all forms.
In all forms.
Okay.
I thank you for that. Zsameria, if someone is, inspired by your work, but doesn't know where to start, what's one simple everyday shift that you would tell them right now that they can make, whether it's fashion, food, home life, that moves them closer to what they define or you define as a more sustainable, environmentally more friendly lifestyle? Show up to a swap.
Yeah, show up to a swap, tap into your community. I don't think people realize that it's so much happening in DC as far as like local swaps. I'm like, when we were doing it 10 years ago, I think we were, the few and far in between. Now they're everywhere, So tap into a swap. But also just like, think about how you can make just one simple change that can affect other people. I don't think people realize how powerful their money power is, and using that money to circulate locally can make tremendous impacts. Again, like you said, look at what Target, what happened to Target, but where do we go now?
Where do we go from here?
Exactly. Yeah. And so if we have a local business that we can support, go support those local businesses, paying people in real time, real cost, because you realize it's like, it may not be easy, and they aren't probably ordering everything from Amazon.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So just thinking about that.
Yeah.
It may be a little bit more, but just thinking about the longevity of your dollar and shopping locally, I think it's so important.
And one thing I'll add, if I can, even thinking about supporting locally, like me and my friends, we ventured out to Baltimore yesterday, and y'all know, for y'all who've been listening to my show forever, y'all know I got mad love for Baltimore. And there were a couple small businesses that we had visited. And the last one we had visited was Cashew Creamery, which when they launched, they actually launched in DC. Beautiful small shop that they have right on Howard Street. Y'all check them out. Plant-based, dairy-free, soy-free, gluten-free, all the frees, but phenomenal ice cream. I have grown to be so aware. Again, not perfect. This is not perfection. But when I think about, especially going to small businesses, I even think about like other associated costs. I'm thinking like when I swipe my card, the fees are associated with like just that one transaction, you know. The shop had like these metal spoons, right? They don't do no plastic spoons, like very conscientious of like, listen, we know that we have some labor to put behind washing these spoons. It's a cost associated with it, but I'm sure, and this may not have been like their standpoint, but it was an environmentally like forward thinking of like metal spoons, or, you know, they weren't plastic, right? But just thinking like every little thing was just going through my mind, just in thinking of like supporting a small business and the same expenses that they might have even compared to like a larger, like more franchised business, but it's still kind of possibly, and assuming that it's just more of a burden because they are a smaller business, right? And just thinking like how much foot traffic that they get. And so just speaking to that power, just to even stand here and just like recognize the power, and that if everyone in this world just did one little thing, just a series of like small steps. So when you keep saying little, it's little big things that do make a difference. I really do believe in my heart that we really do have the power to reverse what we're seeing out here by everyone just doing the small thing that you named, just one thing, and just repeating it over and over and over and over again, right? And so I'm just continuing to be enlightened as I talk to you and share my thoughts, but yes. To all you just said.
Yeah. It's so important. I mean, like you said, just little things create a bigger picture.
I like that. Little things create a bigger picture.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Zsameria, this has been great to speak with you. It has. I've been following Swap DC for quite some time, and the places where you show up are not limited. Like, you've been on farms, you're going to be at the Plant Space on Saturday, you've been everywhere. And y'all forgot to mention she's a DJ, okay? So just to add another layer of greatness to what you're building, and shout out to like your team too. I mean, because I know it's volunteers and staff and folks like
shout out to the Swap DC team. I am so grateful. Like totally. Hey y'all.
Where do you want Swap DC to be? And I think I heard you mention like leaning towards a new name, or did you say Swap Universe?
No, we're already Swap Universe.
Oh, we're Swap Universe?
Yes, we are Swap Universe. Yes, but since we still do swaps here in DC, we're doing Swap DC as we venture out.
Oh, okay. So
it's an umbrella. It's yes.
I live for umbrella.
Yes.
I live for umbrellas. Okay, so you would say that like the next step, of which I was going to say, what do you envision? But this is already happening in that play, is that this expands not just beyond the DC community.
And the DMV community.
Yeah,
yes.
This is Swap Universe. So swaps are happening all over.
Yes.
Oh my goodness.
Look out 2026.
Ooh. Y'all better. Y'all hear Zsameria. Y'all. Where can folks find you? We're going to wrap up. Where can folks find y'all?
Swap DC on all platforms. SWAP DC. That is SWAP as in period DC. Okay.
Zsameria is from DC, y'all, so she has all of DC.
If y'all didn't know, hello.
Yes.
What up, though? Oh no, that's Detroit.
That's Detroit.
I'm mixing up my.
But we got mad love for Detroit on here too, though.
Yes,
so.
yes, yeah. It's all love. I mean, we one world, so it's one love.
One world,
but
one
DC
love.
have a special place in my heart because I'm from here,
Period.
Yeah, period.
Well, thank you, Zsameria, and thank you guys so much for tuning in, and peace.
Peace.
Thank you for listening to Edible Activists. You can find today's episode on Spotify, iTunes, and Simplecast, and follow along on all social media platforms at Edible Activists for updates. Want to support this platform? You can do so by purchasing our commerce or connecting with me about media partnerships at www.edibleactivist.com. In the words of Baba Tariq Adunu, There is no culture without agriculture. Peace.